On the 30th of March 1987, the Pine Rivers Shire Council convened a public meeting with representatives of many of the area's welfare, church and government agencies to initiate the establishment of a welfare centre. Helping relieve poverty, sickness and misfortune, and promoting the well-being of disadvantaged and vulnerable groups were its goals. The first major project was the creation of a neighbourhood centre.
It was because this area had very few support organisations, and they held a public meeting and they formed a steering committee in the hopes that they could have a neighbourhood centre that would serve the area and hopefully build up over the years to support the community.
The Honourable Mrs Yvonne Chapman, a past Minister for Family Services and now Pine Rivers Shire Mayor, acquired 730 Gympie Road as the neighbourhood centre, which was officially opened on September the 15th, 1987. In mid-1990, Laurie Hayes became the full-time coordinator until his retirement in 1996. A committed counsellor, especially of children, Laurie realised the urgent need for programs for families in trauma. He developed family care services, including the government-funded Parent Aid, and ran effective parenting courses at night with his wife, Ruth.
It was a great experience. Fortunately, I'm not sure that I was a terribly good coordinator. Fortunately, there was Betty Blake.
Betty Blake, an ex-legal secretary, capably led other program development and coordination, including the preparation of submissions for funding. She was also Secretary of the Management Committee from 1998 to 2002 and volunteered with the legal service.
Linda was probably here for 12 months, 18 months or more.
Then Laurie, although he was coordinator, was nearly full-time counselling, particularly children, as you would know.
My great interest was in counselling. And whilst I was there, I found that there was a tremendous need from families that had broken up, from children who had been abused. There was a need for counselling, and there weren't the resources in the community. And so that's what tended to develop.
And Betty, in fact, was doing most of the role of developing programs and sort of looking after the centre with an increasing number of volunteers.
She was very good at arranging things, and she supported me very well, and I really appreciate the way she helped.
I was a volunteer, then I was a volunteer coordinator, and some years later I was part-time staff. I think I was paid for half a day a week, and then it got to 2 days a week or something, and I worked 5 days a week anyway.
Exactly 8 years after the neighbourhood centre opened, on the 15th of September 1995, the Betty Blake building opened, easing pressure for space for activities and training, and generating rental from support groups. In 1995, Betty Blake received a Premier's Award Certificate of Achievement. In 2003, she was awarded the First Life membership of the Pine Rivers Neighbourhood Association. Arthur McCutcheon, a retired engineer and long-time community work volunteer, successfully lobbied the local MP for funding restoration for a further triennium. Arthur McCutcheon and David Hopkins, who joined the committee in 2002, were awarded centenary medals in 2003 for outstanding volunteer work.
End of 87, we came here, and early in 88, I guess, we joined the Welfare Association, as it then was, just because we wanted to indicate some interest in the community and so on. And then I came to a couple of AGMs. Then there was a photo in the paper of Laurie Hayes, who was the only full-time staff member in those days, and the centre had been receiving a triennial funding sequence, and the triennium had ended and no money was forthcoming. So I went and saw the local member and told him about this, and very soon the funding was resumed. So for some reason they decided they wanted a political activist on the committee, and that's how I got involved.
Activist or agitator?
Activist, not too much agitating.